Hello and welcome to Series 2 of the Trinity Music Podcast. Opening Series 2, Episode 1 is Heather Shiels. How are you, Heather?
Hello, good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Glad to be back after the holidays. Did you have a nice holiday?
Yeah, a lot of studying.
Genuinely?
Yeah,
Good?
like
Oh,
almost
wow.
every day because my mum was sick.
Oh, right. So
Yeah.
did you, was it almost like a study leave type scenario, but
Yeah.
just for 2 extra weeks? Fair play. That's very impressive. What have you been studying for?
So psychology and photography mainly because they're my first two.
Yeah. So what does
Right,
the
yes.
psychology exam involve? I know it's quite a popular subject in S6, isn't it? But what do you do
Yes.
for psychology?
So it's based on how your sleep and dreams relate to what's going on inside your head,
Okay.
and like public and social stuff like conformity and obedience.
Oh wow, that's I know. Did you have to do like experiments and stuff like on like social
yeah.
experiments?
Yeah, so we've already done one and it's sent it off to SQA already. We done beans in a jar conformity style thing.
Oh right, okay. So what does that? What did that involve? Like how did it work?
So we got 10 of our friends to take part, and they would guess how many beans was in the jar, and then we would offer them answers of other people, and then see if they would change their answer.
Oh, I see what you mean. It's about how
Yeah.
like social pressure, just people just say that. Yeah, I get
And
that.
it was to do with what gender conformed more. So
Oh.
females conform more than males.
I see. So was psychology something you'd recommend for people to go and do?
Yeah, it's pretty good, and if you like that kind of mindset, you get into it really easily.
Yeah, I know a lot of people, like, it's quite a popular thing to study at uni. Loads of people do,
Yeah.
like, English and psychology, or, I don't know, like a social science and psychology as well.
I want to go on to do psychology at college after I do music.
Oh, fantastic. Excellent. So what else are you studying for as well? Sorry, photography too?
Yeah, photography and advanced music.
Yeah, and is photography already a lot of that done with the folio type scenario?
Yeah, so I finished it today. That's
Good.
80%, and then on Monday I've got the exam that's 20%.
This Monday coming?
Yeah.
Ready? Brilliant. And is that looking at, like, techniques behind photography and stuff, like
Yeah,
the theory
so
behind it?
it's a multiple choice on like the different styles and concepts that are in photography, and then there's like 2 main questions and on analysing
All right,
different things.
okay. It sounds quite advanced and complex. Have you got your own camera and everything, or did you borrow
Yeah,
one?
I got a grant through the Scouts to get my
Yeah.
own camera.
Oh, good.
And my aunt's dad is a photographist,
Oh, nice.
and it looks like a college tutor sort of thing.
Okay.
So he helped me get the good one.
Oh, good. I know loads of people that do photography so become really interested and it becomes like
Yeah.
a big pastime. Is there certain types of photography style that you have to do for the like school exam? Do you have to like a certain shot?
Well,
or-
you can get, there's different ones. You can either do portraiture or urban or
Yeah.
landscape or something like that. I did portraiture.
Oh, good. And were you out and about taking shots loads of
No,
places?
it was
or?
all in the
Is it all done in the school?
studio in the school.
There's a studio in school?
Well,
Up in
it's
Art?
like a cupboard in the back of the
Oh, right, okay, a
classroom.
studio, yeah, I see. Like the music practice rooms, or
Yeah.
the rehearsal room, yeah. Oh, good, excellent. And obviously you've got the advanced time music stuff coming
Yeah.
up soon as well, which is obviously a big part of the podcast as well.
Yeah.
Good, and what's your plans for when you leave the school? Have you got sort of
So-
an idea in mind?
Yeah, so I'm taking a gap year to get my grades up to hopefully
Cool.
apply to some music courses.
Yeah,
and I
excellent.
would like to do RCS.
Yeah, go to the conservatoire
Yeah.
on tuba? Or,
Yeah, tuba.
Good. That's a good plan, taking a year out just to do a bit more practice and get everything up to scratch. Brilliant. I'm sure we'll come back to that as we go through the episode.
Yeah.
So you've picked 3 songs. We're sort of keeping the same theme this series and we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
3 really famous bands you've picked from. I'm interested to kind of dive into why you've chosen these artists. And have you got one you'd like to start us off with?
Start with Master Puppets.
Master of Puppets, cool. So the famous Metallica
Yeah.
track, excellent. So are you like a fan of Metallica generally, or
Yeah.
is this just your favourite one from the band?
Yeah, basically. So
Good.
my dad listens to a lot of this sort of music.
Yeah.
So I was
Everybody's dad likes Metallica.
yeah, I was brought up on this like Beatles, Elvis,
Yeah.
a lot of rock and roll sort of stuff. So I brought up listening to it, and then my friend Erin started getting me to watch Stranger Things.
All right, aye.
And in the end, Eddie starts playing Master of Puppets by Metallica.
Oh, nice.
And next thing you knew, it was on my Spotify playlist.
So you not actually heard that song until Stranger Things,
I
or
heard
had you
it
heard
a
it
lot.
just a wee bit? Yeah.
It was in like the back of my brain sort of thing, but
Yeah.
I wasn't into it a lot. And then I heard it, and I was like, "This is actually a really good song."
Yeah, it's a catchy song.
Yeah.
Quite a sort of like anthemic rock
Yeah.
song as well. So are your family quite a musical family then? Do you play instrument? Like, do all of you play an instrument, or
My
how does it
mum's
work?
side of the family is very musical. My aunt and uncle are both faculty head music teachers.
Are they? Oh,
yeah,
right.
one of
Brilliant.
my uncles conducts the band that I play in.
Ah, fantastic. So it's a good.
And my granddad sings, and my mum used to play clarinet, and she sings as well.
Oh,
So,
nice. So there's lots of music
yeah.
going up in the house. And is your dad more of a kind of listener type thing, or does he play instruments as well?
He tolerates
Oh, really?
mad music.
He doesn't mind it.
He turns up to concerts, and if it's like the stuff in music that I like film music, it's great. But if it's got like
Yeah.
4 movements to it, he's like,
Yeah.
ugh.
Yeah, well, I know you play in is it a symphony orchestra that's conducted by Mr. Bulk from Castlehead?
So it's the concert band now because
concert band.
they've split it up because of COVID.
Aye, yeah.
So it's string orchestra and then the concert band. So I play in the concert band.
Yeah, so
But it used to
sometimes
be a symphony orchestra.
Aye, and that can be like a long movements of music
Yeah.
that, you know, are really advanced and technical.
But I did NIOS as well, which is National Youth Orchestra Scotland.
Yeah.
And there was one piece that I wasn't playing that was 25 minutes long.
So you just have to just sit
So
and stare into space.
I went off stage.
You just left. Aye, quite right. You could go home and have a cup of tea and come
All
back.
brass and harps just left the stage because there was nothing for us.
Yeah, I know. Sometimes nothing worse like when you finish an exam and you're sitting for like what feels like eternity
Yeah.
doing that.
And then there was another piece that was 30 minutes long, like 6 movements, and I had 2 notes.
So it's one of those ones where you'd end up getting the 2 notes like at the wrong time because you spend so much time
it was
counting
right
all the
in
rest.
the middle of the piece at the quietest part, and I played at the wrong time.
I think everybody's been there. Don't worry about
Yeah.
that. The bit I'm most interested, actually, I was thinking this when you told me. So you told me these songs over the holidays, and I had a wee chance to look at them a little
Yeah.
bit. And what was really interesting is you've picked 3 kind of heavy rock bands.
Yeah.
But the style of music you tend to play is more, I presume, kind of classical and orchestral.
Yeah.
So where does that contrast come from? Like, how does that come
Well,
about?
I play a lot of that kind of stuff because that's stuff that's given to me.
Yeah.
But I have a large, wide, like, music style.
Yeah,
Like,
an interest.
I was playing music the other day with my dad, and it went from Metallica to Meghan Trainor.
Yeah, just
So
a
it's
really diverse
varied.
mix.
I just went with the top 3 songs that's been played most of my Spotify Wrapped.
Quite right. Is that a Spotify rap from 2022?
Yeah.
You went with, yeah. And is this year's one similar, or is it?
Yeah.
Good. So coming back to the Master of Puppets song. So was it when your friend first showed you it through the Stranger Things?
Yeah.
Is that the main memory you have of that song, or has it taken on more of a life of its own after that?
When I first listened to it, I was like, I'm going to Google what that song was because it's
Mm-hmm.
really good. And then I started talking to my dad about it, and he was telling me backgrounds about it and stuff like that. And he started giving me more songs and stuff like that
Mm-hmm.
in that genre.
Yeah.
And it was sort of my playlist from walking back and forward to school, and I
Nice.
listen to it all the time.
Excellent. Is there anything about it, like musically, you particularly like that song?
It's a lot of the stuff that I would like to play on guitar, like learn
Yeah.
how to play,
Uh-huh.
because a lot of the stuff that I've done last couple of years is melodic and
Yeah.
quite tuneful. And then this year I'm playing Hell Ain't a Bad Place to Be by AC/DC.
Nice.
Because I want to do more on electric guitar.
Yeah.
And I want to get into that genre. It's just I've never done it before.
Yeah, and you've always kind of done this sort of finger pick
Yeah.
thing in class, haven't you?
Yeah.
You've never actually been. I don't think you've ever been in my class before.
No,
but
you've never taught
yeah,
me.
I've seen you sort of like obviously 'cause you're quite a kind of like you regularly in the department.
Yeah.
So I've seen you about. I know you've always been doing the kind of like West Coast style guitar.
Yeah.
But are you wanting to get more into like electric guitar and
Yeah.
stuff like that? Good for you. How long have you been playing the guitar for then? Is that more of a side like instrument?
Yeah,
that
I
you were-
started in S2 just because I couldn't get my head around keyboard.
Yeah. So did you start it in class in S2?
Well, I
Is that right?
started, my aunt tried to teach me when I was 5,
Yeah.
and
It's
it
so
didn't
hard
go
to learn
very
at that
well.
age.
I learned A minor, and that was it.
That's better than most people, to be
Yeah.
honest, on the guitar.
So I started again when I was in S2, and I started with Mr. Merrick,
Mm-hmm.
and then eventually I got into the music centre and on a Saturday morning
Yeah,
at Paisley Grammar, and I got lessons there. And then I'm now getting lessons from 2 players who one taught the other person.
Oh, right, she's like a
And
chain
they're
of...
like, so they are professional musicians who
Yeah.
like tour and stuff like that.
Wow, and then do they come back on the Saturdays and do
Yeah.
lessons as well? Oh, that's fantastic. And do you find you felt like you've kind of came on a lot through
Yeah.
their help? Yeah. Good for you. Another thing that's amazing is the contrast between playing the guitar and the tuba. They're such different instruments. I suppose one can be maybe a break from the other if you're practicing tuba for a while and you can go and pick up the guitar.
Yeah.
It's amazing that you've like learned the guitar to a good level so quickly as well. Because you've been playing the tuba for a lot longer, haven't you?
I've been playing it since about primary 6, so that would be about 8 years
Yeah.
now.
Wow. How did you get into that one then? Where did that come from?
So Mr. Stone, came in my primary school and let us try out instruments, and it turns out he went to college with my uncle.
All right, okay.
So he knew me. So technically he wasn't allowed to give me lessons through the school.
Yeah, because of the
So
connection.
I went and tried out at the Saturday Music Centre.
Yeah.
I was going to play the clarinet.
Yeah.
But there's too many people that applied already.
Okay.
So I went into the brass room and we tried French horn and couldn't get a note out of it.
Yeah.
And
hard.
then I went over to the other brass instrument, was the baby tuba, and I tried it and got a note out
And
of it first
immediately
time.
you could play it. And this is the one for me.
Yeah.
So how long does it, for someone that's never started, because I've never played the brass instrument before,
Yeah.
like how long does it take to be able to feel like you're actually achieving something? Do you need to persevere for ages first?
Yeah, so you need to get the embouchure, which is the mouth shape first,
Yeah.
and then build up enough air to get a good sound, and then you need to learn notes and how to read the music and stuff like that.
So see if you're able to read like music, like in treble clef, or it's written bass clef, isn't it?
Well, it's both, depends on which kind of music you're playing.
So say you could read, does that mean you've kind of got a wee bit of a head start before you get to I suppose, is the hardest bit though, getting the actual sound out of the instrument, I think would be tricky. Yeah, and I think people don't appreciate that. People just seem to think like, oh, you just blow into the bra, but it doesn't work like that, does it? You've got to make a certain shape with your lips and everything.
And you have to like sort of like, it's literally like a buzz that you do your lips. Like, you know how like when you make the farting sound, it's sort of like that, but tighter.
Yeah, and it's quite a skill that like you can't do without endless practice.
Yeah.
Has there ever been a time where you've just thought, I just don't want to do this anymore?
It was round about S1 when everyone started dropping brass.
Yeah.
When they started going, oh, that's not cool.
Yeah, that always happens. Like in primary 6 and 7, the excitement of learning an instrument is great, and then you come to high school and you've like, it's not cool to play the tuba, you know.
And it's kind of hard to take on the bus on the way to school.
I can imagine, yeah.
But I was like, do you know what, I'm going to stick into it, and if I still don't like it, then I'll carry it up. I'll stop it. But I've started getting into bands and stuff like that, and it got so much better, and I'm like, this is quite fun.
Sometimes when you just think, I'm going to chuck it, you'll get something that, like, it could be like learning a really cool piece of music that can impress someone, or it could be joining an orchestra or something like that, and then the sort of motivation takes care of itself, you know. And I think it's important for anybody that watches this that's like just starting out in an instrument, like, you're going to be rubbish for ages, so that's the reality of it, but then eventually, if you stick at it, it's probably the most rewarding thing you can ever do. Yeah, so your song number 1, you've gone for Master of Puppets by Metallica. Yeah. Definitely one that everybody should go and listen to. I'm sure Luke Christie mentioned that in his episode. Might have been a different Metallica song, I can't remember. There's been quite a few of these now. So, aye. But a really well-established band that are still touring, one of the most successful metal bands of all time. Somebody else mentioned Metallica on their episode too, to go and have a listen to. Definitely. Excellent. Yeah. So what song are you going to talk about next?
So Thunderstruck by AC/DC.
Thunderstruck by AC/DC. What a guitar riff that is.
Yeah.
How did this one come about then?
So I was trying to find music for me to walk to school at the end of lockdown because I wasn't taking the bus or anything like that. I wanted a fast-paced song. Yeah. My dad was like, try Thunderstruck or like AC/DC songs. And I started listening to Hellbells.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But that wasn't fast enough. And I was like, shuffle through the AC/DC playlist to see what's there. And I got to Thunderstruck and I fell in love with it.
Yeah. It's such a good song. Yeah. It just... like it's like the perfect like hype up song. The wee guitar riff is incredible. Have you tried to learn that one on the guitar?
I can play a wee bit of it, but not to speed.
Yeah, it's so fast. Yeah, excellent. And I like the way the drums kick in. It's like the thunder bit, and it just makes you feel so like, you know, like geared up to go and do it. So is that one that do you have like a specific memory of that song, or is it just more walking to school and just?
Well, it was sort of my dad's side of the family loves that kind of sort of music. Yeah. And my dad brought me up in that kind of style of stuff.
Yeah, I can see how it's similar to Metallica type thing.
My dad would always play that sort of music when I was in the car. And it was my dad would always let me sing along to that song. Yeah. And I would always be like, thunder.
Yeah, I love that bit when the vocals are so like intense when he's in it. But it's a cracking song.
Yeah, and that's the bit that I remember just singing along with it.
Yeah, it's excellent. I'm going to actually, normally I do this in advance, but I was too lazy to do it. I'm going to Google some facts about this song while we're talking, because I always find it interesting. I'm going to try and find out when it was first released. Thunderstruck. It's one of those sort of like 6-minute long songs as well, isn't it? So it came out in 1990, and it peaked at number 5 on the charts when it came out. But it's one of those ones that always appears in like the greatest rock songs of all time. So it's been out for ages, written by Angus Young and Malcolm Young, who are from the band AC/DC. I'm sure Angus Young is a guitarist in AC/DC.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, and he plays the riff. See if there's any other kind of interesting stuff on here. Brian Johnson is the person that sings it, who's from, sure he's from Newcastle, that guy.
Yeah.
And anything else we've got in here, background. So this is a quote, I think, from Angus Young about it. So it started off from a little trick I had on the guitar. So like the wee riff. I think the actual riff was like a sort of training exercise. You know the song Sweet Child of Mine? I'm sure when Slash was learning that, it's based on like a certain scale you do when you learn the guitar. So it started off as a training exercise, and he just played that over and over and they built the song up. We fiddled about with it for a few months before everything fell into place. Lyrically, it was just a case of finding a good title. We came up with this thunder thing based on a favourite childhood toy, Thunderstruck, and it seemed to have a good ring to it. AC/DC equals power. Oh, that's like the physics, isn't it? And that's the basic idea. Yeah, amazing song. One of the most recognisable songs of their entire catalogue, and they've performed at almost every single show they've played. Yeah. The other iconic AC/DC song's probably Back in Black as well, like that one too.
Yeah. When I was away on holiday one year, I just started got playing ukulele. Yeah. And my dad got me a ukulele book, and it had all these sort of songs in it. Yeah. And I started playing AC/DC on ukulele. On the ukulele.
Oh, excellent. That must be hard to do without the distortion. I'd love to hear you do that one time before you leave, because you've only got 4 days. Well, 3 days now. You're recording this on Friday included. So we're recording this on a Monday after school. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, are they just normal days?
Yeah, and then Friday's a charity day.
Yeah, so Thursday after school you're coming in for the kind of graduation thing, and then Friday it's like as you're not on timetable, are you? You're doing all the sort of shirt signing, doing like fun activities and all that sort of thing. Wow. I'd love to hear you, before you go on, you go out with a bang playing AC/DC in the uke.
I'll try my best to bring it in.
Excellent. Thunderstruck, it's a perfect song to stick on if you're like struggling for motivation for something.
Yeah, it's a good song for the gym.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Like if ever I'm going out to run or something, that's the kind of song you'd put on just, when you can't be bothered leaving the house to go to the gym, you're just like, I could just stay in my bed. Yeah. But if you get that song on, it just gives you so much adrenaline and like energy. And just the way it builds up, one to go and listen to. Probably loads of people will have heard it. They always play it before big football games and all that sort of thing. So song number 2 is AC/DC with Thunderstruck. You've really hit out this sort of like middle-aged man music taste here.
My music taste is so varied. Like my guitar teacher's always like, so what song do you want to play? And I'm like, pick a song from my playlist.
Anything in the massive catalogue. I was going to ask you that. Did you find it quite hard to whittle it down to 3? Yeah. Is that why you went for the Spotify Wrapped, just to kind of take the decision out of your hands?
I was sitting with the girls that help in your music class.
Yeah, aye.
And I'm like, what song should I pick?
Yeah, they've got quite a good music taste as well, actually.
And I was going to go for like Olivia Rodrigo that Kate recommended, and I was like, I should just go with my Spotify Wrapped.
Yeah, I think that's a good overall indication of that. I love that thing on Spotify where you get the end of season stats. Yeah. And it tells you, that's the lights have just gone off there. Hopefully people can still see us in here. I don't know if we can stand up and it should move. Brilliant. Yeah. So have you ever done that thing? It's like an app that's like it's linked to your Spotify and it builds your dream festival. Mr. Merritt showed me this. I can't remember the name of the app, but it's like it's synced to your Spotify. And you know how when you see a festival lineup, it's like the main stage artists. I'll try and find it and send you the link to it. And it lets you see, like, based on your entire Spotify history, who your dream festival lineup would be. So it could be like AC/DC, John Williams, and like some other random person. Yeah, that's well worth doing.
There was one thing that I did do. There's a Vecna playlist you can get on Spotify. Yeah. It tells you all the songs to play if Vecna ever possesses you.
Oh, right, okay.
Vecna from Stranger Things.
Oh, I see. Is it based on your own Spotify or just like...
Yeah.
Oh, that's it. That's good. I like that. Right, so move on to the last song. So you've gone for Queen, another iconic rock band. You probably picked... With maybe the exception of the Beatles, 3 of the most famous, most successful bands
Beatles,
of all.
But that was number 4.
Did you have a Beatles song in mind? Yeah. It's quite hard to whittle it down. What would you have gone
Yellow
for?
Submarine.
Yellow Submarine?
Yeah. I've actually went to go see the Yellow Submarine in Liverpool.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Aye. You've not been put off by hearing the higher class play that on the keyboard? B, C, D, B, A, B, G. What a tune.
I played it, so...
Yeah. Did you have to do that as well?
Yeah, I did it on guitar.
Oh, for your exam?
Yeah.
Ah, cool. So what Queen song have you went with?
So Millionaire's Waltz.
Millionaire's Waltz. Now this is quite an obscure Queen song.
Yeah.
I hadn't heard of this one. I do like Queen, but I don't know their back catalogue really that well. So how did this one come about? Why have you chosen Millionaire Waltz?
About a year and a half ago, I started playing with Johnston Brass Band.
Yeah.
And for my first competition last August, when we went down to Perth for the
Sorry, I'm just checking that's still recording. Sorry.
It was an entertainment contest, and one of the songs we played was Millionaire Waltz. And I'd never heard it before that either. And the first night we got the handed out the music, I went home to listen to it, and I was like, "This is a banger."
Yeah, it's a good shot. It's a good song.
Yeah.
I like the wee piano bit at the start and how it just builds up and up. So did you play the guitar on this one?
No, I played tuba.
Played tuba because it was in the Johnson band. Nice. And did you then get inspired to go and listen to the original one more and that sort of thing?
Yeah. I already loved Queen. I listened to all their music anyway, but that was one I never heard of before. Yeah. And I was like, this is really good.
It's a lovely song. I'm going to again do some more Googling on this one just while we're chatting. Because I want to know sort of what time they would have done this, if this is kind of round about the Bohemian Rhapsody type.
It sounds quite like it, I think.
That's what I was thinking as well when we were listening to it just before.
I think it might even be the same album.
Is that album, that Night of the Opera one, is it called?
I think it might be.
Waltz. I'll see. Hopefully they've got some sort of information on this here. Let me just see if I can find any facts out about this. In 1976, an album A Day at the Races, so it's a slightly different one. Yeah, so I think it was round about the time of Bohemian Rhapsody. Yeah, so this is what it says actually. This is Brian May was quoted as saying this. This was our greatest musical excess. It usually means his biggest music sort of challenge. Yeah. It teams with Baroque life, so like the style of music, and makes Bohemian Rhapsody look easy. Wow. And great piece by Freddie Mercury. So I think Brian May thinks it's like one of the most like that often like the artist's favourite song is the more obscure one, and that's what he's thought. So Freddie Mercury's been quoted as saying he loves like Brian May's guitar playing on it, taking the instrument to new levels by kind of being more orchestral instruments. Same with John Deacon's bass playing; it's really, really good. And yeah, it's quite a sort of more like, as I was listening to it actually just before we started, is this one because it's maybe got more of a classical link? So it's like a combination of your sort of like tuba background and playing in bands and stuff, linked with your rock passion.
A proper waltz, and it has lots of modulation through it and very good riffs. It combines all my love for music together. Yeah, it's quite a sort of like full picture. Yeah.
Sometimes when people listen to music, they go for like, it's just how does it make you feel? Is it just a put you in a good mood, or is it something that's got more music concepts? When you think of like National Vibe and Higher, like it's actually got a lot of stuff in it as well. Yeah. Well, actually, you again missed out on this year. When I did Advanced Higher at school, I think it's the same still, without the kind of COVID limitations. We had to do this essay where you compared two pieces of music.
No, that's been taken out.
Yeah, so that would have been a really good one you could have done, so you could compare like a song like that's got all these orchestrations in it with something different.
I would have loved to do that.
Yeah, I feel like you're one of the few people that's probably annoyed about the fact that we've taken stuff out, because it's a lot of the stuff that you're probably like you've got a real interest in, but obviously if you go and do music at uni, that will come back in some capacity. So Queen with Millionaire Waltz, it's similar to like how Bohemian Rhapsody is quite influenced by kind of those sort of classical techniques and all that, and lots of orchestral playing. If you like that sort of thing, this is maybe more of an more advanced one, and it really shows how good Queen are as musicians. Not just like they're not just rock stars; they're actually really talented.
Yeah, it shows a good like comparison of what they can do in like the large scale like skills they have.
Exactly. I'm really glad you actually mentioned that song, because that's not one I would have known. Yeah. Despite the fact they've done like I think probably 20 Queen songs off the top of my head, I'd never heard of that one. Have you got any other songs that didn't make your top 3 that you could maybe list off for us that have just kind of just missed out on your?
Probably a lot of Beatles and Elvis songs, but there's also like more poppy songs that I would listen to. None to off the top of my head, but
just loads of diverse stuff, mix. Yeah. And has your taste evolved quite a bit over time? Like, or have you got the same taste now that you had, say, pre-COVID, or has it always changed?
I loved a lot of Little Mix and stuff like that before COVID, and then I started listening to the same stuff that was going on in the house, because our house is quite small packed sort of thing. There's 3 of us in the house. And so if you heard music going downstairs, it was playing upstairs as well.
Yeah, so you don't have a choice in the matter.
So, and I started listening to that stuff, and I'm like, He's got a not bad music taste.
Yeah, good. And the best music taste, I think, is a diverse one and one that appreciates all sorts of styles. I don't really understand these people that are like, I'm exclusively a rock person, I'm exclusively a rap person. I think you've got to have a wide palette, you know.
I think if you just listen to, like, especially just one musician, it gets kind of boring.
Yeah, and you become a bit sort of like, you sort of tunnel visioned about the whole thing. But as you've demonstrated with your 3 songs, you've got a really wide taste. I know that you could have listed loads of other songs as well. So just to recap, you've gone from Metallica, Master of Puppets, really good song to listen to. AC/DC Thunderstruck is very famous. Loads of people will know that one. Put it on to have if you're in a good mood and get you going. And Queen Millionaire Waltz, if you want to just appreciate the art form of music and skill that required to compose a piece of music, that's one to go and listen to. So thank you so much for coming on and chatting about these songs. I've always wanted to have you on for a while because I know like how much music means to you and how much like of your life you've given up for rehearsals and practicing, and if you think about the number of hours you must have put into getting good at it, it's quite scary. And you imagine how good you're going to be in 10 years' time, though, if you keep the same level of practice up.
I know.
So before we finish off, obviously you've got only a few more days of high school left.
Yeah.
If you were going back into S1, when did you turn it into S1? 2018? 2017?
2017.
So if you were going back to August of 2017 and you could tell yourself, the whole hypothetical question, like, what would be the main message you give to a younger version of you walking through the first day of S1 about this school?
Don't give up, because a lot of people say that it's not cool.
Yeah, it's a huge message, that.
I wanted to fit in so much more than I did to follow like what I wanted to do, and I almost gave up what this was.
Yeah.
And I would wish that I didn't feel that way, because I could have progressed so much more over those years.
Yeah, you've got to be your own person. You've got to be your original person. What you'll find in this school, I think, is if you are yourself, you will find like-minded people in here.
There's a lot of like little groups that you can fit into that like have your same interests. That's how I found my friend group.
I love that about this school, is that there's like so many individual personalities and like nobody I've ever seen who's got a kind of unique interest is ever on their own in this school. There's always somebody else that will like something similar, particularly people that like music. There's always going to be someone that you'll find out there. That's
my friend group's also how I got that taste of music and rock sort of stuff.
Yeah, I can from thinking of the people that are in it, I can see why. Yeah, excellent. That's a really good message. Just go in and be yourself when you walk through the door. Yeah. Don't worry about what anybody else thinks, because life's too short for that and all that sort of thing, without getting too cringy. Anyway, I hope you enjoy the remaining 3-4 days of your school? 4 days. It's been a pleasure having you on, and obviously keep in touch with us when you leave school, because we want to hear how you're getting on. Thanks for watching. Series 2 will be continuing during study leave, with possibly some teachers, hopefully, and some of the younger pupils in the school as well. Thanks, Heather. Cheers.
Thank you.
See you later.
Bye.